So today I want to talk about a new idea I have. Well, it's an idea I've been have a long time in my head for a better mobility device. So briefly, there's a bunch of mobility devices that people have worked on, such as wheelchairs. What's the problem with wheelchairs compared to crutches is that you lose a lot of height. Also, they're not you can't go over as many terrains. And beyond not being able to go over as many terrains and losing height, it compresses part of your lower thigh, which can hurt blood circulation compared to standing up. Sometimes with people with blood circulation issues, it's better, but usually it's not. And that can put you at risk, more of a risk actually long term of having blood clots and weakens your heart slowly. So, so then there's crutches. Crutches are uncomfortable and hard to use. I have a little bit of experience with crutches, not a lot. And the problem with it, oh yeah, and you also have to be able to walk to use crutches to some extent. The problem with crutches is that they're very uncomfortable putting it under your thing. And if you have coordination issues like I do, you keep messing up the way you use them. And I had them for a while after I got a third-degree sprain, which is when you tear through multiple ligaments at once completely in the ankle, and it takes a while for it to heal. And I just kept using them wrong because of like dyspraxia and stuff. You also have to take more space just to with the whole motion of moving back and forth. So what is my sort of solution that's I think a little more practical to use? Well, imagine you had first of all a collapsible thing that I drew, and you had these two yellow beams which can be made out of any material, but in the picture I saw I made them yellow. And these two beams are telescopic with a button or some other device. And telescopic means it can collapse. Like there's ladders that can collapse with that telescopic. There's simple telescopes, a bunch of things, back scratchers online. And then you had just two parallel beams that are telescopic, yellow. In between you had some material, well, yellow in this diagram. Again, it could be metal of any color or plastic. Then in between you had something to support your weight a little bit or attach to it, and that can be any fabric or anything. I made red here. Then you have on the top something thicker and stronger to place your weight on. And I just made a black curve at the top here. And that black curve can be just thicker plastic, maybe a very flexible metal, maybe a fabric. But at the bottom of these yellow beams, and that's where you rest a lot of your weight, like you had the traditional crutch on. But at the bottom, what you have is wheels, which I drew purple. Most wheels are not. And these wheels will have a small motor. And I'll have two features to help people move around with these wheels. Maybe they could fully move you around if you had shoes with wheels, or they really took you off the ground. But let's say you did not for a second, and this is just the wheels to help you in the motorized. If I start falling forward, what these wheels could do is they could pump extra power to bring me back upright. So I start falling, tipping over, which I'll just draw with a little arrow. Do. Hey. I start tipping over this way, and the wheels will then go in the opposite direction and prevent me from tipping over. Or I can send something the opposite and do it in the opposite direction. And that can keep me balanced and steady. Also, if I have them on each side, if I start falling over to one side, it can help me that way. So these wheels could move distant times just to stabilize you. And because it's not on a single point putting the pressure, there's a lot less pressure on your body than to the ground than on a single point pressure like traditional clutches, while giving the same stability. You would also have the wheels so you could roll it while holding it, the whole thing, continuously. Now, in some designs that are easier to put on, we could still keep the handles below the handles that you actually hold on with your hands, that are below the armpits, which is another big problem with clutches, is your hands are not free anymore. However, for a more advanced design that's a little hard to put on, you could have a full body brace where it has a strap on your back and a strap on your front, or just a strap on your front or back, and that could support even more of your weight more easily. And that extra support would mean that there's less pressure and uncomfort at any part of your body. And then these side red braces I saw would really be useful and strap on. You could even make the straps adjustable for different types of people easily with 3D printing, which I discussed. To make it also more of a fluid trip, you could have on these yellow things sensors that could detect the height of the ground and level, so you can move the wheels preemptively up and down so you never feel any of the bumpiness of the surface. And then, if you really wanted to disappear, you could have this whole thing telescopically collapse. I don't think this is a great engineering challenge. I think it'll just take someone to really put on a good effort with the equipment to do it. The most complicated part would be figuring out how to manufacture it in massive, which I really think 3D printing in this case could do it, as we could make this thing almost entirely out of plastic, and just different thicknesses of the same plastic, and all plastic's durable enough for this stuff that could be 3D printed, and that can make it highly customizable for body types, or different types of users that want to have the things for the arms or do not want to have the things for the arm. Also on the sides things or in the back brace, you could put pockets to help people carry stuff. Just thought of that. The wheel, the motor, and the sensors are only things not that we don't really need, but the sensors and motors not that fancy. There's Lego kits for the next robots that have the ultrasonic sensors needed, and all you need is a simple distance sensor. You would want more fancy, preferably, but you could also use a bunch of sensors on your phone or something that's that found on phones and stuff that are pretty cheap. The fancier the sensor, though, the more information and the better you can make it, but the harder it's to program. Like a simple distance sensor with from the Next and stuff, you don't have to program in and figure out distances, but if you start using cameras and stuff, there's ways you have to program in distances, and you could do that by a bunch of computer vision tricks, which is starting to be libraries out there to train, and this will make it easier, or people that have already done it. How you could do it is if you have acceleration meters and stuff, you can look at how points change as you go closer and farther from them, and then you use that to kind of figure out the distance by seeing how much that point magnifies if you go 1 centimeter. Because if you go 1 centimeter, it's 2 times bigger, then it originally was 2 centimeters away. And then if you have it at an angle, you could figure out from the cosine and sine. And there's other fancier ways with like machine learning and stuff where you could take a bunch of pictures, but that's a little bit more tricky. You could also customize this with 3D printing with different threads, so it could go over different surfaces better, or different rigidities of the wheel, or different thicknesses or other size wheels to make it nicer. Bigger wheels are less stable generally, and but they have less friction, for example. But they can be made more stable with pocket stuff over sand with bigger wheels. That's just one example. I hope you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is a really hard goal. But with your help, I think I can reach that. Thank you very much. And if you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or just a compliment, feel free to leave them behind in the comment section below. It really helps out. Or DM me if you know my DMs, but I do not want to give them out. Thank you very much. Goodbye.